Hi and welcome to my channel, Budget Audio Review. Now today it's to turn this Marantz Model 1030 amplifier. Going to go over a few things, we're going to have a little look inside etc like I normally do. I want to mention just a couple of things I haven't mentioned before about Marantz and a few other amplifiers as well as we go along. So this particular amplifier came out in 1973 and continued to about 1978 and it was made in Japan. This was the baby of the series from Marantz. This is just 15 watts a channel. Now as you can see it's a brushed aluminium front, looks quite nice. And it's got like a metal aluminium top in a kind of wood grain effect. Now you can get proper wood for this, so I think you could actually buy it with the wood surround anyway. There's people on eBay selling it with the wood surround, so it probably come like that. But it's also, you can pick up these wood surrounds second hand for this amplifier, or you can get them custom made, or there's some people actually making them now. You know, they're new, they're made them themselves, they've got the measurements and they're making it out of pieces of oak or whatever timber it is. I'm not too certain what it is actually, but so you can get them just for surround only. You're going to pay like for a reproduction one about 150 quid and probably a second hand one probably 150 pounds, so you could well pay more for surrounding than you do the actual amplifier. But this surround here, this aluminium surround will come off and that new surround would go on and it'll fit the same screw hole. So this is pretty typical should I say, with quite a lot of Marantz 70s to early 80s kind of HiFi and other makes as well of course, but there's a lot of Marantz stuff and a lot of people like this wood surround, but you're going to pay a little bit more, you're going to pay a bit of a premium for that wood surround. So if you've got the amplifier and you really liked it and you want to put it in your cabinet or on top of your unit or whatever and you want to really make it really stand out, it may be an option. You may think, oh, I'll go and get one of them wood surrounds. Like I say, in this particular case you're probably going to pay more for that wood surround than you would do the amplifier, but it is an option. Okay, so let's get it on the table and have a little look inside. And as you can see, I do like amplifiers like this. It's inside's all laid out, nice and neat. Everything's in its own little place kind of thing. It's all situated nicely inside. So if we have a little look around the back, as you can see around the back, we've got two sets of speakers, a main and remote, so two lots of speakers can be connected to this. We've got some power outputs here. We've got a switched power output, which is 60 watts. So as soon as you turn the amplifier on, that would come live. And we've got an unswitched, which is 200 watts. So that, you know, as long as you've got this amplifier actually plugged in and turned on the wall socket, even though you've got the amplifier off, that would still be live. We've got a phono ground screw there to plug your record player into to stop the humming, etc. We've got a tape in and out, which are RCA sockets, as well as a 5-pin DIN socket as well. And we've got tuner, auxiliary, tape and phono. It's an integrated amp, so you can plug your record player straight into this. Do not need a preamp or anything like that. So now if we come around and have a little look at the front, I'll put a picture up of the screen just after I finish, but here's the front. We've got the loudness to start off with, then we've got the tape monitor, mono stereo button, then we've got bass, treble. We come across this side, we've got a high filter, the main speakers and the remote speakers there. We come along the bottom, we've got a microphone here. You've got your input select here, you've got your balance, volume, headphone socket here, and your power little button here with a little LED, little blue LED on top. So there you go, that's the amplifier itself, and now I'm going to tell you what I actually thought it sounded like. Right, so how did it actually sound? Now, first of all, you're going to pay roughly here in the UK round about the £100, 80 to maybe 120, 150, somewhere around there. They vary quite a bit. Like you can get lucky, local pickup, all that kind of stuff, and probably pick up one for 80 quid. A lot of obviously depends on condition. A lot of these amplifiers, you get one scratched up a bit, you've got a few scratches, you're going to get it cheaper. So if you don't mind a few scratches, not too fussed, it's going to be hidden away the amplifier, you're not really going to see the scratches, just really want it for its sound. So bear that in mind, you're going to save a few quid there. And also don't forget, you can get one with a load of scratches on top, say for half the price, or 50% or 40% or 30% less than you would the old amplifier if it was all nice and mint on top, it was scratches, etc. And if you were thinking about getting that case, then that's money you saved towards that wooden case if you wanted to do it that way. So there's all things to bear in mind with these things. If you get scratch knobs and that, they're not always easy to replace, these knobs. You can get something similar maybe, but just be a bit wary with scratch knobs, because some of these scratch knobs go for like 10 and 20 pounds just for one knob, if you can get hold of it. So just bear that in mind as well. So how did this actually sound? Right, we're going to start off with a bass. The bass was okay, it's just a tad lacking, this bass, and I think that where it's, it's got a bit of a deep bass to it. The bass is deep, it's a little bit lacking. This is only 15 watts a channel, this amplifier, and I say that usually in the case of these old amps, the 15 watts, equates to quite a few more watts than that. Like, and if I compare this, just want to compare it wattage wise to, which I've done a little bit of a comparison to as well, with the Sansui 331 receiver, which is only 12 watts. This is 15 watts. When I've turned that volume up, I'd have to put this nearly 2 notches up higher. So where the Sansui would say on number 3, this would have to be nearly on number 5. So for some reason, even though this was 3 watts a channel higher, it didn't equivalate to that. You with me? It just seemed to be lacking in a bit of power there. It seems like the power wasn't as much as I expected it to be. You know, when you compare with these old amplifiers, you know, they seem to give out more power than they do. Well, this seemed to give out, maybe in comparison with an up-to-date amplifier, you know, the power was a little bit lacking there. So you'd have to crank up the volume a bit more, nearly 2 notches to keep up with that 12 watt Sansui. Just want to say that. So you can have this volume control quite a way, you know, depending on how loud you want your music kind of thing. You can have it quite a way round, a little bit more than you thought you would have to kind of thing. Let's put it that way. So the bass was a little bit lacking. The bottom bass was okay. The overall bass I thought was a little bit lacking. It's a little bit light. And I think that was in the mid bass region. The mid bass region just seemed to be lacking there, I think, in the mid bass. The bottom, but the mid bass just seems to be lacking. Now, don't forget this amplifier, 1973 to 78, is quite a few years old, so some parts could need replacing there. But all in all, I like the sound of this amplifier. This is a nice sounding amplifier, but it was lacking in the bass department. I think the main part of it was, like I say, that mid bass. It was a little bit loose, the bass, a little bit loose. Could have done with being a bit tighter, that bass that was there, but it was okay, it was fine. Just get yourself, you know, a reasonably kind of, don't get yourself a pair of speakers that's a bit light on the bass, you know, on the bass side, because then obviously you're going to notice it even more. That's what I'm saying there. Yeah, it was just, that's where it was lacking, is the mid bass. I think the mids was fine, the actual mids itself, the vocals, they sounded nice, they sounded fine, they sounded smooth. I've got here. It was quite, the sax, piano, trumpet, these just lacked a little bit of timbre, I think, these, a little bit of texture kind of thing. And I'm not too sure if that mid bass would have helped them out. That mid bass was a little bit lacking there. May have just pushed these through a little bit and given them a little bit more help. So it's just a little bit more, you know, a little bit lacking in that department. But other than that, you know, when I say this, it's hard to explain. But like you know, like, so when the bloke's maybe blowing the trumpet or something like that, you can kind of hear it going through the wind, going through the trumpet kind of thing. Now I'm being really picky here because, like I say, I like the sound of this amplifier. It's quite a nice sounding amplifier. If you're just going to sit back, relax, this is a non-fatiguing amplifier. It's got quite a nice, kind of like sweetish kind of sounding amplifier. Nice, relaxing. You're going to put it on and forget about it kind of thing. Like I say, you're lacking that little bit of mid bass maybe, but you're not going to be too fussed, I don't think. All in all, you know, I quite like this amplifier. It's quite a nice little amplifier for what it was. Just lacking that little bit of timbre there. Now the sound stage was quite spacious. It's quite a spacious sound stage. It's just a little bit. It's a little bit loose, the sound stage, but it was quite nice. It's quite a nice, like, airy kind of sound stage. Yeah, you know, I did like this. You know, the instruments was fairly focused and that. They're quite nice. Fairly, you know, in position. Separation, shall I say? Sorry, the separation of the instruments was quite nice and that. Just the sound stage, like I say, was just a little tad loose, maybe. It was a little unfocused in places. The top end was nice. It was quite a bit of detail, the top end. It was just a little bit loose, you know. It was a little bit loose, the top end, especially when it's like that kind of. It just seemed a little bit loose, the top end. It just could have been a little bit more grip, a little bit tighter, that top end. I usually say that about the bass, more tight on the bass, but I just felt the top end was a little bit wobbly maybe in places. But other than that, it was okay. Like I say, this is quite a nice, pleasant sounding amplifier. Yeah, I just felt like, let's go back to the vocals, just lacked that little bit of timbre, the vocals, the sax, the piano and that, just could have done with a little bit more texture, a little bit more timbre to it, I think. But other than that, it's quite nice. And I think where this is lacking is that mid bass kind of thing, that kind of the bottom bass was there. It wasn't that strong, I must admit. Could have done with more, but it was the mid bass area that let this amplifier down, I think. But other than that, I still, you know, apart from that, I still liked it. And even with that, I still like the sound of this amplifier. I could quite easily turn this on, not get too serious, too involved, sit back and relax and like this amplifier. Like, maybe my reviews are a bit picky in places and that, and being expecting too much for what you're getting kind of thing, because don't forget these are budget items, and maybe expecting like champagne for lemonade prices kind of thing. You with me? So just bear that in mind. I'm a bit picky here on a lot of things, I think, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? I just want to make sure, you know, if you went and bought one of these, that you kind of knew, you know, where its good points were, and maybe where its, you know, downfalls are on these amplifiers and that. But you know, I usually come at the end and say, do I recommend something or don't I recommend it? And I recommend this amplifier. Yeah, I do recommend it. Like I say, it's got them few pitfalls, like pretty much else. You know what I mean? Most things have got some pitfalls somewhere along the line. All in all, I quite like this amplifier. I won't be running out to buy a wooden case for it, that's for certain. But I could quite easily sit that in my setup and listen to that. And then, like I say, it's got quite it's a pleasant, a little bit sweet sounding kind of sound. It's a sound that you're not going to get fatigued with at all. You're going to sit back, you're going to enjoy the sound of this amplifier. It's not got the boom of the bass and nothing like that. If you're expecting some more boom, then I think you're going to have to look elsewhere. But it's a nice sounding little amplifier, and like, you know, this Marantz stuff is always more premium than a normal amplifier. If this was a Sansui or something else, you'd be paying 80 quid for it or something like that. But this one here, like I say, if it ain't scratching that, or you're going to get a local pickup, you're probably going to pay over £100 for it. That's the problem there, I think. But you know, that said, it's still worth it. I think it's still worth it, and it's a nice looking amplifier. Right, I've rattled on a bit too much as usual. So there it is. I recommend this, and I'll say thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.